This was undisturbed Australia, in its virgin state, safely maintained through countless centuries. Vast tree cover breaking the fall of rain, sheltering the topsoil from the storm, and providing a cover of litter. Thousands of square miles of grasslands and useful pasture, holding the topsoil, keeping the rivers and streams running slow and clear. A balance of nature built up over thousands of years. Wildlife of all kinds played its part in keeping that balance. What they destroyed, nature willingly and happily replaced, for it was all part of a simple scheme of things. It was generally a rich country. There were richer, yes, but it was good country with golden prospects. There were quick returns for those who would work hard. Good land. It only needed clearing. Down with the box. Down with the cypress pine. Down with all the trees. No need to replant. Plenty more where they came from. Clear. Ringbark. Burn. Blast out the trees. And the country's clear for grazing and farming in all its phases. The country's clear for generation after generation. The same stock, the same crops, the same method, taking always from the soil. Leaving it bare, barer, desolate. Open to every attack of rain and wind, so that today this is happening in Australia. Soil erosion is now one of our biggest problems. The wheat belt of New South Wales is our greatest food-producing area, but it is one of the regions where erosion is most severe. This film shows how the problem is being brought under control in the northwest section of the wheat belt. Erosion begins in a small and barely perceptible way, with sheet erosion washing away the surface soil in thin layers. Then rills are formed where the runoff water first concentrates in small drainage lines. With the continuance of the same farming practices, it isn't long before the rills become small gutters, dividing the paddock into small sections, making farming operations more difficult. Once gullies are established, they continue to grow and grow, carrying away more and more good soil. The gullies become too deep to be crossed by tillage implements and must now be excluded from cultivation. In many cases, erosion is started by the overclearing and overgrazing of hills. Excessive runoff from the hills produces destructive erosion on the cultivation land at the foot. Then again, rabbit infestation has been a frequent cause of ruined pastures. While the burning of stubble leaves the soil bare, unprotected. And with the coming of storms, vital topsoil will be washed away. Runoff from eroded paddocks has caused extensive damage to roads and culverts. Added to the tragic damage to our farming land, rich soil is carried downstream uselessly and needlessly, silting up our streams and rivers. This ruined dam is filled with topsoil from eroded farms. Here at Keep It, on the Namoi River, will be a reservoir to supply water for stock and domestic uses and for irrigation. This dam will increase production in the fertile Namoi River Valley. An extensive program of water conservation on our rivers makes it essential that the catchment areas be protected from soil erosion. Unless energetic steps are taken to stop erosion on the catchment area, this reservoir can have only a short life of usefulness. Areas such as these are a menace to any water conservation program. This formerly productive land is completely ruined by erosion. Against all this tragic loss, the New South Wales government is taking energetic steps through the Soil Conservation Service to combat erosion throughout the state. Many farmers are already working in close cooperation with the Soil Conservation Service, and the whole work is organized on a practical basis. Every landholder is urged to make the fullest use of this service. The Soil Conservation Research Station has been established at Gunnedah. Here, modern conservation measures are demonstrated. And research is undertaken in all types of erosion problems. On these plots, the runoff and soil loss from land under different land use and cropping practices are measured after each storm. By taking measurements over a period of years, the Soil Conservation Service is able to determine those types of land use and cropping practices that lead to soil erosion and those that conserve them. For the benefit of local farmers, field days are held and modern conservation practices explained. Farmers travel long distances to attend these gatherings. Soil conservation equipment illustrates various phases of erosion control. Some farmers have shown considerable ingenuity in adapting their farm implements for soil conservation purposes. The hitch on this single furrow plough is a local invention. This saving of manpower should be of general interest to farmers. A scoop with a local adaptation for automatic tipping is demonstrated. It provides a simple method of filling cups. A further example of the farmer's ingenuity in meeting the labor shortage. Another farmer's invention is the grey dozer, which is used in the first place as a dozer. With the removal of 2 pins, the blade can be quickly reversed. Used in this fashion, it becomes an efficient grader ditcher. Thus, farmers and the Conservation Service share their knowledge for the benefit of Australia. District soil conservation officers have been established in various country centres throughout New South Wales, at Inverell, Sandwich, Scone, Orange, Goulburn and Wagga. Experienced men attached to these centres will visit properties and advise the farmers on how to control erosion. A program for the control of erosion is planned and the proposed work laid out. All soil conservation measures aim at the re-establishment of vegetation on the land. Where erosion is severe, this is assisted by mechanical measures. Here is typical eroded farmland before control measures have been started. The first stage of control is to construct absorption banks on the steep slopes. The grazing land below is pasture forest. Dams are then constructed across the gullies, and diversion banks collect runoff from severely eroded areas. Overflow from the dams flows into grass waterways, and graded banks being constructed in the arable land. In all soil conservation activities, operations must commence on the highest banks. Below steep or rocky slopes, runoff is controlled by the construction of large absorption banks. Before the banks can be made, the ground must be ripped. The earth is then pushed up with the bulldozer. On a severely eroded property such as this, many of these banks are required. And following further rain, the runoff is stored and erosion prevented on the land below. By the sowing of a rapidly spreading grass such as throat grass, the banks are stabilized. The gully head can be converted into a dam for water storage, and silt dams constructed to hold soil washed down by erosion. Here, a former gully is converted into a valuable water supply. To control the water that flows over the lower land, pasture furrows such as these will hold runoff from all but exceptional storms. By absorbing the rainfall into the soil, instead of allowing it to run off, the growth of grass is increased and the grazing value of the land improved. Pasture furrows and absorption banks are used to control runoff from areas where pastures are depleted. However, they are not needed where the grazing management maintains a good cover. On an area such as this, there is no runoff problem to cause erosion on the land below. Once the runoff from the hills is controlled, waterways are made on the lower arable land. This work can be done speedily and economically with modern earth-moving equipment. The Department of Conservation has this machinery and tractor operators available at low hiring rates to help farmers. Levels of the completed waterways are checked. And they are then sown to a grass. After sowing, it is desirable to mulch the waterways with straw to provide temporary cover. When waterways have developed a good cover, water may be diverted into them from existing gullies. The next step is the construction of graded banks. The surveyor lays these out with a slight fall to drain excess runoff into established waterways. After ripping, the banks may be constructed with a bulldozer or a grader terrace. A grader ditcher, or with the specially designed grade dozer. But everyday farm machinery can be adapted to do the job. Finally, the main parts of the gullies are filled in. Following this, all farm operations should be conducted on the contour, parallel to the banks. In this way, runoff and erosion are reduced to a minimum. Where slopes are not severe and erosion has not reached an advanced stage, strip cropping on the contour is a good control measure, alternate strips being cropped each year. Under soil conservation methods, stubble should not be burnt. Instead, the straw is retained to protect the land. With stubble mulch farming and applying of crop residues into the soil, soil texture is improved and fertility maintained. This storm trap attachment, as its name implies, increases water absorption into the soil. Steadily a change in land use is taking place. Rotational cropping is being practiced with the inclusion of pasture for a period of years in the cropping rotation. Lucerne combines well with grain crops in the cropping program. Here, lucerne was sown with wheat, and the stubble rolled during harvest. The lucerne and straw combine to give protection and added fertility. After 4 or 5 years, this land will be cropped to wheat again. In the meantime, it provides valuable pasture and enables the farmer to raise more and better fat land. Native grasses will also re-establish readily on cultivation patterns. Tree planting has an important place in soil conservation activities. At this nursery at Keep It, many thousands of trees are raised for planting out on the foreshores of the dam. The young trees are also available to farmers to establish windbreaks and woodlots and for erosion control. It will not be long before this young plantation will provide valuable shelter for stock. Today, more and more progressive farmers are looking to conservation to return their properties to full productivity. 9 years ago, with severe erosion, this land was worthless. Today, rich crops reward the landholder for his thorough program of soil conservation. Another example of the value of proper soil conservation methods is this property at Durai near Tamworth. A few years ago, this land was suffering severely from erosion. Through the enthusiasm and vision of the owner, it is now under complete control, and the farm has been restored to full productivity. More stock are carried today, and better crops harvested than ever before. It has been selected by the Department of Agriculture for the sowing of experimental wheat plots. Crops such as these, returning up to 50 bushels per acre, are harvested on paddocks once scarred by erosion. Soil conservation is vital, not only for the success of individual farms, but for the future prosperity of the An organized effort is being made today to restore the productivity of our land and to help in the fight of man against erosion. Through the cooperation of individual farmers, assisted by the Soil Conservation Service, agriculture becomes more stabilized. The scars of erosion heal. Creeks and rivers flow clearly and strongly, and the productivity of our land is assured for today and for the future.